حاطيه لنا. حاضر. Do you have batteries for this one?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sisters, please, if you have any question, write it down with the yellow sticky note, fold the paper and give it to me. So inshallah we can pass it to Sheikh Mamdouh. Please make the question short. There is no time really for writing long paragraphs in the questions. And brothers, please, if you can leave the right half of the prayer hall, inshallah, and come on the left one, jazakumullah khair. Sisters, they want to join us, and we are about to go on air, inshallah, in 2 minutes. So I would encourage you, please, to finish quickly and go on the other half of the main prayer hall. And sister, in the Sisters Musalla area, please come and join us. We want to start, inshallah, now at 8:30. We will finish by 9:15. We have too many questions to be answered, and inshallah dinners will be ready and will be served, inshallah, in the multi-purpose hall.
Tell me when you're ready, huh? Huh? Oh, mashallah. نعم. طب جزاك الله خير. ready إن شاء الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Inshallah, just to relate what was said to what is happening. We talked about marriage as an important institution in Islam. We talked about some of the cultural practices, and there is nothing wrong with the culture as long as it is not haram, it does not contradict with Islam, or does not prevent us from doing something that we're supposed to do as Muslims, as a community in relation to marriage. Children's opinion counts, parents' opinion also counts. They need to come in the middle. Also, we talked about the role of the man and the role of the wife. It is Allah Azza wa Jal who decides. There is no superiority, inferiority here. The woman is about caring, the man is about earning, and there is nothing wrong about this. And this is where we stopped at the issues, inshallah, will cause that marriage, which is going according to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with understanding, with all what's said, to not to work. And then, when the hardest thing happens is divorce. Naam, Sheikh.
I have a couple of things I want to say before we go to the divorce. Number one, I want to say something about finding your future spouse through internet. A lot of people think internet is a good method of looking for future spouse. I don't have a problem with that, but I want you to be aware of the following. There is a lot of cheating and wrong information online. I remember one sister came to my office once in the masjid and she said, "Is this allowed or not?" She said, "I put my picture and my profile in basically a marriage for sight, but it's 18 years old. Like this picture taken 18 years ago. But I still look the same. It was not even better," she's saying. So I said, but that's just even an example of people cheat. A guy will be in the picture, then you marry, "Oh, you're not in the picture." "No, I'm the one behind him," kind of, be careful of wrong information. Also, you don't know who's in the other end of the computer. That's why a lot of people fall into haram, because this relationship starts online. That fear being alone with a man or a woman is not there. So online you became very relaxed, and a lot of predators online. So please be very, very careful with online research. Make sure that it's a trusted website. Don't give your picture online, no matter what, especially without hijab. I am in the area of all the geeks, in Houston. But correct me if I'm wrong, IT people. Pictures, if it goes online, you cannot delete it ever. It will never be deleted. So if your picture without hijab, or if it's online, it's online. Even if you delete it from your website, it's somewhere out there. So be very careful how you basically use the internet. So that's what a study shows. Number one hunting ground for marriage in the United States is college. Number one comes on the top of the list. Most of the marriages of young people happen during college time when people get to know each other in college. A lot of still, especially in the Muslim community, a lot of marriages happen because of family. You know, I know someone from my family, from the friend of the family, neighbors. I always recommend that you marry someone you have some information about that person, have access to. Don't just marry a stranger, someone live in Alaska. Alaska. You go look for Alaska. Who knows him? Who knows what that person is? It's not bad, but it is that's one of the red flags that takes time for me. I'll spend more time to know the person better. But try, if you find something, that's why Sheikh Mamdouh is a beautiful point. Local community, people I can reach out. He lives in Houston. I can reach to Sheikh Mamdouh in the Woodlands and say, what do you think of that person? You've seen him. Someone that there's somehow my family, my community know the person. That's much safer to play it this way than somebody absolutely unknown. Live in somewhere in Belgium. You know, or she lives in things like that. That's number one. Number two that I have is the issue of caring. And when we say men care, women for caring and men for providing, there is this also misunderstanding that men think their role in the whole entire family
is to provide
only. Yeah. Which is absolutely not. So one man was telling me, Sheikh, I give her money every month to feed the kids. And yeah, but where is you're not just a money maker, you're a dad.
You need to care also for her and for children.
For her and for the children. There is a father matter. Your existence that you should care and you should play an active role in providing and being there and plus that you basically care and you raise the children and you participate like what Sheikh Mamdouh said and you cook too. That's not a problem. That's not this ever was my point.
And sometimes you have to iron your wife's clothes, you know.
Yeah, that's
you just do that. Yeah, wash it and iron it for her one time at least.
Used to help. There is a good book, speaking of iron clothes, Be Man in the Van. I don't know if you read that book or not. Be Man in the Van. Okay, it's a very interesting book. Talk about this concept that men have this idea that they have nothing to do with being at home. I forgot who wrote the book. I think that's what it is. Or yeah, Be Man in the Van. Somewhere. I think that's what it is. I have a question for you. You've been asking me all these questions before we go to divorce. As an intro to divorce.
Divorce subject. I'm not going to do divorce.
Okay. This month of October is the month of awareness month of
abuse,
domestic
violence.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence awareness month.
Yeah. Every minute in the United States, there is 20 people abused domestically.
Allahu Akbar.
Every 1 minute.
I see how many people got abused when we were sitting here, you know, like for this time.
So this is crazy. It's like what, 8 million a year or some crazy number like that. Every minute 20 people get abused in the United States. In Houston, Texas. You guys, which county you guys
Harris County.
Okay, good, even better. Harris County, 2014, the government made charges against almost 11,000 cases of domestic abuse. In August 2nd, since I'm Sheikh Mamdouh here, in August 2nd, 2015, we all heard Cherry, the poor woman who got shot and killed by her husband in the woodland, yes, in front of her 2 kids. Then the guy took his own life. Guess what? Right after that, the very next day, August 3rd, 2015, a woman not far away in Spring, Texas, is here, was also slaughtered and sliced by machete by her husband in front of her 2 kids as well. And no, it was not. It's Montgomery County. This is Houston's crazy. domestic abuse is a real thing. So I would like
So we're
to
not
say something about domestic abuse.
Yeah, we are not also supposed to live in denial that Muslim community, mashallah, they are angels. Yani they are also there are there are issues of abuse that you cannot imagine. We as also shuyukh here in Houston, we getting these news and we're getting these complaints about that. We need education. Wallahi akhwana, we need education. We need education. It is more than just about personal marriage, your marriage, my marriage. It is education. It is rampant in the community, and that's one of the main causes of divorce among the Muslim community, because Muslim community is part of the larger Houston community, right, Sheikh? It's part of, so whatever problems in the community, Muslim community have their own share of it. And unless we open our eyes and unless we face the issues heads on and we see and we talk about it, we educate ourselves and our kids, and then we get over this shame thing. The sisters have to complain if they are living in an abusive relationship, and the brothers have to take it. I have Sheikh someone, because there was an abuse. The husband was like, I'm not going to say harassing me, but he's stalking me everywhere I go, because I am telling him not to do what he's doing. I'm not supposed to be speaking. As a sheikh, not supposed to be speaking. This is something not of your business. Why you interfere? I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm not supposed to tell her anything. He has to be beating her. He has to be psychologically abusing her. He has to be doing everything, because he's the man, and he's
supposed to tell her, be patient.
Be patient, yeah, as a sheikh. So these kind of things we have. So this leads us, sheikh, to divorce.
I want to say this. Muslims women sometimes more receptive to abuse than average women in the society, for many reasons. Number one, so many people justify beating and abuse religiously. You think my religion allowed me to beat women, and our religion do not allow beating women. Even the verse that people talk about it, has a very specific interpretation in the books of tafsir. It's a form of physical rejection to her. It's not about beating. That's why Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said it's like if you have the turban, the tail of the turban, or you have like a scarf on your
a small swag,
you just basically say, stay away from me.
Yeah,
that's not a beating. That's not darb. That's a Shafi'i. Ibn Abbas said it's like with your siwak, not your. It's a siwak. It's just a siwak is like the toothbrush. I call it green toothbrush. Okay, so like a toothbrush. That's not a tool of beating or hit or hurt. The point is not to reprimand her. The point is to show physical rejection to her. And the ulama even said about this that this is when she comes with something major like adultery. When she comes with something, not just because you have a fight over breakfast or because she raised her voice.
No.
Ya Rasulullah, he came. He said, "Inna imra'atun fi lisaniha bada'a." She speaks ill, bad. Then the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Talliqha, divorce her." He said, "No, but li minha suhbah wa walad." Been a long time married and we have children. He said, "Idha, remind her." Then, amazingly, what comes next? قال ولا تضرب ضعينتك لا تضرب زوجتك.
Do
not beat your wife. You speak to her. That's when Sahih Bukhari, a whole chapter about karahat darb al-nisa. This whole notion of beating and hitting, and sometimes in our Muslim family, they justify that. I walk into a house of a Muslim family here in Houston, and I found in the middle of the house a whip.
Allahu Akbar.
Okay, and hanging, and underneath of it, the Prophet said, hang the whip in the middle of the house so the people will behave well. فإنه آدب لأهل البيت. Wallahi, I'm telling you, I saw this with my own eyes. So I said to the guy, first of all, this hadith is absolutely weak. There's no base for it. It's weak hadith. Well, it's not correct. That's number one. Number two, there's nobody behaving. This is the abuse, using the religion to justify their abusing, their controlling behavior. Number two, culture. Muslims, women have a lot of culture prevent women from speaking up. Asrar al-biyut, hada zawjik, don't speak up, don't talk, shame on you. All this, culturally, she cannot talk. She cannot speak up against the abuse that she takes. Three, Many of them, they don't have a status. A lot of Muslim women are immigrants. She doesn't know what to do if she speaks out, where to go, where to live. She might lose her status, or she's been sent back to her country. That's why she has to suffer and to keep quiet. Many, they don't speak English very well. They don't resources. They don't know that there is an 800 number hotline nationwide for domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So as a community, we have a right toward this issue to create an awareness about it and to make sure that we don't allow. There is nothing can justify domestic abuse. Domestic abuse can be physically, can be sexually, like forcing your wife or your husband into certain sexual activity that they not feel comfortable with. And in this regard, I want to say, is it Islamically allowed for a woman to say to her husband, no? Yes, absolutely. She has every right to say no if she cannot have a relationship with her husband. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You only do what you're capable of. She said, I know I can't. I'm tired. I cannot. I can't do it. It means I can't. 3, domestic abuse emotionally. Let her live or the children in constant fear. Or many things emotionally. Also psychologically. You destroy her psychologically. You make her feel like she cannot depend on anything in life. You basically make her that's a psychological abuse. Also financial abuse. Taking the wealth of your spouse. Making them no money at all. Oh my God, I had a case recently. A guy divorced his wife. We talk about how much he will give her a month. He said $60. I said $60?
They are like
he
that.
said, I live off $60. What she want, more than $60. A family, a woman should go to college. So be very careful with domestic abuse, something that should be creating awareness. Today I give a whole khutbah about it. If you go to our website, themasjid.org, you can hear the whole khutbah about domestic abuse and about what Islam says about this topic as well. So I just thought it would be good to bring it up.
Also, divorce sometimes culturally looked at as a punishment or as a threat. Like, the husband will threaten his wife, if you don't do such and such, or you talk to somebody, I'm going to divorce you. Again, you add to that what you just said, carrying the stigma of divorce, being afraid of her family, being afraid nobody's going to marry her after that, and so on. So she stays in an abusive relationship. It's a very vicious cycle. And also, divorce becomes like a punishment. Okay, you did this, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to take 50% of your wealth. It goes both ways. So divorce actually is it is a way out. In Quran, the divorce is presented as a way out to be a good servant of Allah Azza wa Jal. Through marriage he did not do, we're not able to do that, then through divorce he can do that. And ليغني الله كل من ساعته, everybody يتفرق يغني الله كل من ساعته, they can remarry again. So we have plenty of questions, Sheikh, but questions will trigger inshallah more subjects. But what we wanted to emphasize on tonight, that marriage is an institution. It's for you to get closer to Allah and for us to care about each other, to fulfill our needs and so on. And the divorce also is a way out. It is not a threat and it is not a punishment. Abuse is not accepted in Islam, and abuse can come in all shapes and forms. And don't ever think, my brothers, that it is someone else. صح يا شيخ? It is always a mushkila. Whenever we raise an issue, I am the one who's excluded from that. I am the good guy here, right? And everybody else can be material for abuse, but I am the good guy. But actually, if you check yourself deeper, you will find something that needs to be fixed. And I think this is how we should start, Sheikh Badu, educating ourselves and so on. So
sometimes I just want to say also something about divorce. Divorce is very common these days. It's sad. I never dealt with cases. I came to America in 1997, exactly. Okay, since I came to America, I'm telling you, the last 2 years, there is some new trend. People who get divorced very, very early in age, and also old in age. And usually I deal with people in 40s, 30s, they get divorced. Now, like early 20s, and that's one of the dangers of early marriages, that the rate of divorce among them very high, very immature. But what's scary, 60s and 70 years old get their divorce. It's strange. I never dealt with things like this before. But that's became common thing now. At least I will deal with 4 or 5 cases I see in my area only. Can you imagine how many cases in Houston and large? And So we need to ask ourselves why the divorces became such a common thing. Why divorces became so high in rate. You know, in America it's about what, 40% or 43% divorce rate. In Muslim country, a city like Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, every 9 minutes there is a divorce case. A country like United Arab Emirates, the divorce rate is 48% to 49%.
And half of the marriages in the
Half the
divorce.
marriages ended up divorced. And that's inside the Muslim world. You know, and one of the studies that I saw in America, that the rate of divorce in the Muslim community is about 39 to 40%, exactly like what you said earlier, the national rate. It's close to the national rate. That's scary. And unfortunately, after divorce, and before divorce, there's a lot of things to talk about divorce. It's a special lecture. But in divorce, what I want to say that it's a solution, but it's the last solution. So don't rush to divorce. Please take your time. Do not rush to divorce. There are steps you have to take first. That's number one advice. Number two, know that divorce can be initiated from the man and also can be initiated from the woman. We call this khula. She divorced him.
Yeah.
So it's not just Islam give both the ability to terminating that marital relationship. The third point I want to say about divorce, please remember what Allah said in the Quran. فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ
تسريح بإحسان.
When he said about divorce, he said ihsan. يعني you hold with goodness, and when you leave even with better.
Extra.
وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ
بينكم.
بَيْنَكُمْ. When they came to a sheikh and told him, I heard you have a problem with your wife. Some of the students said, she's my wife. I'm not going to talk to you about my wife. After he divorced her, they came back to him and he said, she's now my sister. I'm not going to talk about my sister.
Yeah, غيبة.
Don't talk about my sister. So there's no need for nasty divorce. There's no need for this. Let's be calm. You know what didn't work out? Everybody goes. And usually when you follow the Sharia, when you follow the rules, it must be happening. Be aware. Divorce in Islam must happen, must meet the following conditions to be considered a Sunni divorce. As an education must be known to every single man and woman. Number one, you do not divorce a woman during her period. That's haram. That's a sin by the consensus of the Muslim scholars. You're not allowed to divorce a woman during her menses. She has to be free from menses. Also, you're not allowed to divorce a woman after having, since she finished her menses,
Intimate relationship.
no intimate relationship between them took place. So let's say she finished her menses in October 10, and now October 20. If you had a relationship, intercourse or intimate relationship with her from 10 until this day, even single one, you're not allowed to do. We have to wait until she got her period, she finished, then you initiate the divorce. But you're not allowed to do that. Has nothing to do, she's pregnant, not pregnant, has nothing to do with that. That's not the reason. The reason is Allah saying that. طَلِّقُهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ. She had a specific time for divorce. Okay? Or you divorce her while she is clearly pregnant, that's allowed. A lot of people think it's haram, but that's not haram, that's allowed. So make sure, some fuqaha will not even make the divorce valid. And the third one is, you only say, I divorce you one time. You don't divorce 3 times. No, just one time, khalas. So you give yourself a chance. And if you don't want, just don't go back to her.
So that shows how the divorce is premeditated. Like it's a process. It is not just like a punishment or a word that you say when you are angry. When this education happens, then divorce will be less. You see the Sheikh's point here? Why he mentioned all of these things. That means, divorce is something that you think about for a long time. It is not something impromptu. It's not something spontaneous. Because I'm angry, you're like this. And divorce, Malki, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, like this. Yeah. Somebody called, and said, my husband divorced me according to 4 madhab. I said, what does that mean? What does that mean? He said, you're divorced, Malki, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali. That shows you that how the divorce is like a result
He's
of...
worse than this guy who after he married his wife, He said, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you.
لا حول ولا
He
قوة.
said, how would you divorce a dead woman? He said, because I don't want her to be my wife in Jannah.
عجيب يعني لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
It's like people are crazy.
Yeah. So this is yes, to lighten the mood a little bit يعني so but اخوانا والله I'm suggesting there are courses that each and everyone should take. You know, like there are institutions like Al Maghrib Institute, like Mishka University. Mishka University is offering fiqh of family, right? 1 and 2, about marriage and the divorce and all that. And in Al Maghrib Institute there is
Fiqh of love.
Fiqh of love. They teach that. So fiqh of love, our young, youth, those who are newly married, older also, they should listen to that and educate themselves.
In November 11, Sheikh Yasser Barjah,
Save this house, yeah.
Very specialized in this area. Sheikh, we call him the love doctor.
MashaAllah.
Sheikh Yasser Barjah will be holding a course called Protect This House.
Yes.
Very beautiful course. I really highly recommend any people to take it. Will be in University of Houston. It's 1 weekend.
That is the education that the Sheikh is referring to. We need to have education because one lecture is not going to solve this issue. Today we're just opening up the topics, not the can of worms, but we're just opening up the topics, right? To know this. So now, Sheikh, about some of the troubles that people have in their marriages, all these questions coming, emphasizing on that. If a sister is in an abusive relationship, and the question says clearly that if her husband physically abusing her, what she should do? She should call the Islamic Center, the Sheikh, the police, the government. What does she do?
If he physically abused you by hitting you, beating you, choking you, call the police to protect yourself, to be in safety. That's number one thing you should do. Then, if it's not something like a threat or two, I think you should still report that. But you have to look into the therapy. This man, you cannot just go back to him like that. Anyone who's abusive and physically abuses his wife, he will do it again and again and again. What will be the point if he get you disabled or choke you and you get or hit you in the back and injure your spine or break your hand? Or what's the benefit of that? What do we want kids to see their mom beating up or mom abused? So report that. Ask for therapy. If you really seriously feel sorry for what he said, you cannot just go back to him. You ask him to go through therapy. I dealt with a case with a guy, okay, that he would not allow his wife to be sitting on the table while he's eating. She sits on the floor. This is in America. And by the way, this guy, raised in the West. It's not. That's why domestic abuse across all culture, across all genders, all religion, all age group. The most vulnerable age group among women for domestic abuse between the age of 24 to 38. They are the bracket age where most likely to be abused. Some said from 18 to 24, but what I have most said the other way around. So anyway, here I say that this is like you report that, you ask for therapy for yourself, for the persons. It has to stop and it has to be talked about. Talk to your family. Bring someone from your family, talk to his family. He needs to know that it is not okay, it is wrong. That's been my advice to you.
Yeah, so again, Sheikh, the sisters who are divorced in the community, and we emphasized on that during the lectures. If anybody just came new, the Sheikh was mentioning that you should take that taboo away, right? Look to the family, look to the sister, don't look to her experience. Maybe she didn't have a good experience. She's a good person. It is not about she's divorced or not. It is about how good of a person matching the need of someone who get married. So that answers one of the question. About the
also
Sheikh,
men. A lot of people don't marry guys who divorce.
Yeah.
Not as many as women, but also so many people. If a divorced man, you will not have a good chance for getting married. And one thing about divorce, when you get divorced, there is a psychological problem, which is you have low self-esteem after divorce.
Feeling failure.
So what happened, you end up with marrying someone next, way lower in standard than your standard.
That's vulnerability. That's why they say, Sheikh, that the second marriages are more prone to fail faster than the first one.
Why? Because of this fact. The fact is, your low self-esteem, you have low self-esteem, so you will accept to marry someone you would never accept in regular situation. So that's why it's so advisable. I advise this to anyone who's been through divorce. Be very careful from rebound. Just don't start a relationship. Stay for healing. The Quran and Sunnah talk about 3 months period. I would say that's good, and if you can make it a year, that will be better. Just take your time to heal, especially if the divorce is hard and there's like a story behind it, or just to make sure that it takes your time to heal, because you don't want to start another one. If you get married again, don't judge the new relationship based on the old one. Don't look at it from the lens of the previous experience.
Comparison.
Oh, he's like this, so he's like that. Oh, so just be careful with that.
Also, I wanted to mention that AMJA, Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, Sheikh is one of the member of the permanent Fatwa Committee. They have a code, a marital code, قانون الأحوال الشخصية, ورقة الأحوال الشخصية. It is available in Arabic and English on the website. It's a very, very good, and the scholars, mashallah, took long time until they come up with this, to have the American way, the Islamic way, and look at it. It's a good education as well. Also, Sheikh, I wanted to relate to this divorce issue the importance of wali. That's why the wali is important, because sometimes we feel that the man and the woman, they're free to do whatever they want, and they don't want their parents and so on. That is the importance of the wali, to protect you, to talk on your behalf, and that wali can be the imam of the masjid or the community, or if your father is not available. You have a take on that, Sheikh?
The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "La nikaha illa bi wali." No marriage without wali. Very clear. In Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that أيما امرأة نكحت, even the Prophet said, any woman marry herself without her wali's permission, their marriage is invalid. That's why the vast majority of the fuqaha said the wali must exist, which is the father or representative of the father, like the uncle or the older brother or some of that nature. It is, again, it's for your best interest. So, and wali, it is absolutely must be part of your marriage. And again, it's just not like you just meet a guy and hey, marry each other. That's not how marriage is.
Yeah, so Sheikh, في another sensitive issue, a question, more than one question actually, came up 5 questions talking about the same thing. The limits of the in-laws and the parents and the wife and the husband. I'm not here to serve your parents, or I'm not here to take care of your father or your mother, or all this issue, their culture, and we're not going to cover everything about that, but if there is some word of advice to clarify that issue.
I would say your wife is not there to serve your parents. Absolutely 100% that's true. She is not a servant to your parents. She is not their daughter. He is not their sons. That's absolutely, you don't accept that, swallow that, because that's the reality. She's none in the Islamic traditions or Islamic God ever would say that the wife is there to serve your parents. That's your parents, you serve them. You take care of them. She should be respectful. If she served them and cook for them and do things for them, that's what's expected from a woman who loves her husband. A woman who respects her in-laws. A woman who is a good Muslim to do that. But it's not something that you think it is a must, or she is under the demand of doing that. And she became like her number one goal in life is to please your mom. Number one goal in life is to take care of you when it comes to the relationship and her children, not your parents. She didn't marry your mom, she didn't marry your father. And that has to be clear, and I know in certain culture it's a very hard thing to hear, but that's the reality. That's the reality. In Sharia, in Islam, if you have money, you absolutely first person to support your wife. Then second comes your parents. Because your wife is completely dependent on you. But again, that's not to be abused, that statement. That means I make my wife take all luxury in life and my parents suffering. No, I'm talking about a necessity. You fulfill the necessity of your wife, first priority. Then after that come parents. That's across the board. You will not see this disagreement, as far as I know, among the Muslim jurists.
Yeah.
Because النفقة أوجب ما تكون على الزوجة ثم بعد ذلك الوالدين. For many wisdom behind that. For instance, because parents will have multiple sources of income, but not your wife, have only one person to depend on. So that's number one. So make sure that you understand that. Number two, outside to the in-laws, the problem with in-laws, it's an issue, especially mother-in-laws, is an issue of jealousy. She feels jealous, like her son loves her more than me. She always feels that, threatened by the new member in the family. It's not going to be so loyal to me anymore. So if you know that, be smart. Make sure that you assure her, as a son, as her son, please make sure that you always show your love and your care for her. Don't neglect her in the expense of, because you spend more time with you. Make sure that you make her feel safe about it. As a wife, be smart. Always make her feel that she is not in any way in competition with the mom. You know, Allah yaghfir li ummi warhamha, my mom, before she passed away. Whenever she comes to my house and my wife cooks something, we will stage that, me and my wife actually. Okay, we'll say like in front of my mom, I'll say, she'll say, hey, what do you think Waleed of the food? And she cooked something my mom that liked to cook. I'll say, oh, this is so delicious, thank you. Then she said, but it's no way close to your mom's food. I have to admit that. Oh, my mom would be flying like, oh, it's so good. Yeah, because no threat. Yeah, she's so happy that, you know what, she's still knowing that this is like the best food, his mom's. She'll be when we do that, she will feel very relaxed. That's a normal. So be smart when you deal with your parents. Also, a lot of these problems happen prior to marriage. There's a lot of conflict and fight before marriage. So the parents already have this idea about the in-laws, and they will not change it later. So make sure in the beginning of the marriage, keep the relationship good, because they make it much easier. 3, don't live with your parents. Sorry, but you know what? Islamically, you should live by yourself. Unless your parents need you physically, they cannot be independent. Otherwise, if they can live independence, live next to them, close to them, but don't live with them. Most of these problems happen when you live with your in-laws. We have in certain culture, in Arab culture and Desi culture, in some place in Arab culture, it is like all of them cousins and sons live with his parents. And also in Desi culture, it's very common that people live with their parents. You know what? That's not healthy for a relationship. Every woman wants to be independent. She's the queen of the house. She's in her home. There will be always conflict. Try to, and you as a parent do that. There is one of the greatest scholars of India. His name is Shah Waliullah Dahlawi. When he was 14 years old, his father married him. In his biography, when he was 16 years old, his father asked him to move out. For a culture in India, that's something very strange. He said, because he wanted to send a message to the society that that's the right course of action. Let them have their own experience in life. So, also, I would say from the parent side, make sure, before the parents, I would say one thing. Please, don't complain to your mom about your spouse.
Ya salam.
Don't complain to your father about your spouse.
Especially in the first year of marriage, Sheikh.
Seek advice, but don't complain. I go to my mom and said, my wife, she has no manner. She cursed me to death. She did this to me. Okay? My mom will be what?
شفت هي
Angry.
كده.
That's right. That's her son. She has no shame to say, I will never dare to look at your father's eyes, blah, blah, blah. Mother, she will be like very angry. I go home, my wife made a food and cooked food to me, or she did the flowers, or she sent me a text message, I'm sorry, and we go back to each other, and we forgot about the problem while my mom is cooking. That's what happens when you complain. أشركتهم في حربك لا في سلمك. So be very careful. Don't complain to your parents about your spouse. Maybe seek advice, that's fine. As from the parents' perspective, I have one thing to tell you. Please understand that your children move to another stage of their life. He's not the teenager, he's not the high school, he's not the university, he's a married man. She's a married woman.
Sorry, yeah.
Give them chance to build their own experience in life. People are different. This generation different than the. It's like interesting when I see mom. She said, "You know what? I would never talk to your dad like this." Yeah, because you guys like from
Another era.
Another era. You came from a different culture, different centuries. It's not showing respect is different today than 100 years ago.
Sorry.
The concept of hayat different from one place to another, from time to another. There's certain concept change. If he's comfortable with that, if that's something he can live with, khalas, this is his own personality, his own life. Your role is to advise. Your role from a distance. Keep your distance between your children. And I remember my dad, when I got married, my dad told me, you never come to complain to me about your family. If you want advice, I can give you. But don't ever tell me, this or to tell your mom. If you ever, I see you come to say that, you're not welcome to my house. That's my own dad. That's between you and your wife. You solve the problem together. Learn how to solve it together. And these kind of advice is so sound, so profound, help me in my marriage, and make sure that you pass things like this nature to your children as well. Trust the love of your son and love of your in-laws. I have a lecture online if you need more. It's called In-Laws or Outlaws. Okay? I think it's I mentioned in it about 20 different points.
Should listen to that lecture. It's very good. It's a very good lecture, mashallah. And also the balance is needed. So out of what the Sheikh said, see, he wanted it a conversation.